Shalom Aleichem, Kasiba v'Chasima Tova. Have a good jar, everyone. Anyway, we have a little learning from the Sefer Orchos, Tzaddikim, the way of the righteous. Let's take a look about not saying lashon hara. Not saying lashon hara against one's friend. It has different aspects of it, and let's take a look. Baal lashon, we're up to here. Baal lashon, the owner of the lashon hara, the one that says lashon hara, is called Baal lashon. Mechapes the olam mumei b'nei adam umedaber b'hem. He's always looking for the flaws in people, and he talks about them. V'hu domer lezevuvim. He's comparable to like the flies. Shehem yanuchu liolam al mekom halichlach. They're always looking for the place where it's a little bit muddy and things like that. You know, they're looking for the flaws. One moment. Let me get a pen. Mekom halichlach. Im yesh ba'adam shechin. If the person has boils, or if he has things whatever it might be, something on the skin. Hazevuvim manichim esaguf, v'yeshvu al hashechin. If the person has boils, the zevuvim, the flies, leave the person's body, and they go and they sit on the boils. That's what they congregate at. Carefull baal lashon hara. The same thing, but the one that says lashon hara a lot. Maniach kol hatov ba'adam umedaber min hara. He leaves all of the good that the person does, and then he talks about the bad, the evil things that he did. Umaseh ba'adam echad. There was a story about a certain person. Sheholach im chacham basadeh. Ve'ra'u nevelo achas masrachas. There was a person of a certain story of a certain person. He went with a chacham, with a very wise person. He went to the field, and then they saw the carcass of an animal that is decaying. Omar oso ha'adam. That person said, Kama masrachas nevela zu. How it's rotting, and it's how much decay is in this nevela, is in this carcass. Amar chacham. So the chacham, the wise man, said, Kama levonim shineha. How white are the teeth? How white are the teeth? He found something good to say about the carcass. That, in other words, the other person was saying, how much is it rotting and everything, the bad things. And the chacham said, how white are the teeth? How white? Kama levonim shina. How white are the teeth? In other words, we should strive to look for the good, to say good about the people. The wise person, he gave him a musar. He scolded that person. He said to him, Lama to Omar Haganai Shalom. Why do you say the thing that is bad about it? This is something that's not seemly about this. To Omar Hashabach, you should say something which is good about it. In the olam yesaper adam b'shivcho shel olam, because a person should always talk about the good in the world. In the olam yesaper adam b'shivcho shel olam. One should look at the good and should talk about the good in the world, not the evil and how evil this is and how rotting it is. You should look how white are its teeth, or you should see the good in things. Im tire adam asher yedaber davar o yaaseh maaseh. If one sees a person that he's doing something, or he said something, he said a certain thing, O Yaseh Ma'aseh, he's doing an action. V'yesh Lodun Devarov U'Masav L'Tzad Chova U'L'Tzad Zchus. And one can judge the person's what he said or his actions that he did. L'Tzad Chova U'L'Tzad Zchus. One can say either something good, L'Tzad Chova, that's something bad about what he said or what he did. Or L'Tzad Zchus, or else one can say something, the zchus, the good thing that the person did. You have there's a little bit of bad in what the person did, but then there's a little bit of good also in what the person did. Imhu Yirei Elokim, if the person is a God-fearing person, the one that did this, Nischayavto Laduno Lekav Zchus. Nischayavto Laduno Lekav Zchus. We are obligated to judge him, the kapschus, too, in the kapschus means in the way of the good. In other words, if the person is a God-fearing person, so we see he did something partially good, partially bad, so we have an obligation to judge him in the good way, the kapschus. Al derech emes, al derech emes, the right way, the way of truth. Al derech emes, on the way of truth. Afilu im hadavar notze harbe lechova, yotzer melizachos. Afilu im hadavar notze harbe lechova, yotzer melizachos. And even if, let's say, this God-fearing person, he did this, he said something, or he did a certain thing that can be interpreted either. Even if the thing that he did, or the words that he said, it seems more that it is lechova, that it is not a good thing. It was a bad thing that he did. Yotzer milizchus, more than that he did a good thing. He still has to look at it lekavchus. He has to look at it lekavchus. He has to look at it in a positive way, and he has to. Well, he doesn't have to say anything. Better not to talk. We're learning here, but he has to look at it in the milizchus. He should look at it lekavchus, because he's a God-fearing person. So, in other words, maybe something happened that caused him to do it this way. It's not so simple. So if he's a Benoni, a person in the middle, or if he's a God-fearing person, we have to look at it like kapschus, in the right way. If one is Benoni, in between, he's not a very God-fearing person. He's not the opposite, chas v'sholom. Asher nizor min ha'cheit u'pa'amim yikoshel bo. He's usually very nizor min ha'cheit. He's very careful not to do an aveira. U'pa'amim yikoshel bo. Once in a while, he might stumble upon it. So he's very careful all the time. He keeps away from the chait, from the sin. Once in a while, it has happened a couple of times, whatever, he might have stumbled on that. It's upon you, it's upon us, to put the suffix to the side. In other words, and when we talk about it, when we think about it, we have to think about it like kapschus, that he did it. There were mitigating circumstances. Maybe he wasn't feeling well or whatever it is, and there must be a reason. And the kapschus, that it's in a positive way. We should look at it in a positive way. V'yamru Rabboseinu, our rabbis have said, Zichronon Levracha of blessed memory, Hadon es chaveru lekapschus, Hamakom Yisale Yodinehu lekapschus. If somebody Hadon es chaveru, he judges his friend lekapschus, he on the good side. In other words, he assumes that whatever he did was really with good intentions, the kapschus, not in the bad intentions. Hamakom Yisale Hashem. Hamakom Yisale Yidineu lekapschus. Hashem will judge him according to the right way. In other words, if Reuven did something that could have been good, and it had certain aspects that could have been not so good. But we were nota lekapschus. We say that really this is an okay. This he did it. He didn't have anything bad in mind, and he's an okay guy. He's really we're dan lekapschus. We don't think the worst of him. We think the best of him. So if one thinks the best of his friends, Hamakom Yisela Yedeinehu lekapschus, Hashem will judge him in the right way, lekapschus, in a favorable manner. Shabbos Kuf Chav Zayin Amud Beis. We can find this in the Gemara Shabbos Kuf Chav Zayin. That's 127 Amud Beis, the second Amud. V'hi mitzvah sasei min haTorah. This is a mitzvah. This is a positive mitzvah, a commandment from the Torah that we should. So in other words, it's really a mitzvah to do this. It's not midrabanan. Shana Amar, because it says, B'tzedek tishbot amisecha. Vayikra Yud it says, B'tzedek tishbot amisecha. You should judge your fellow. You should judge your friend, b'tzedek, in a good way, like he's in a righteous way, that he is really doing a good thing, b'tzedek, lekapschus. V'yim hadavar notze letzad chova, if the thing is shaded, im hadavar notze letzad chova, if, let's say, the thing seems like it could be not such a good thing, Yehiye hadavar eselcha kemo safek. It should be to you kemo safek, like it's in doubt. We don't know that it's really bad. We don't know. There might have been reasons why he did this. In other words, don't say, oh, he did a bad thing. Do not, when you're judging him, don't do it in lekapchova, to the side of the negative side. If the person is most of his actions, most of his words are in a bad way, we know that he does not have too much fear of Hashem in his heart. So then we should go and think of him in the carefull. He did this, that it's a negative way. Im gila adam al chatosecha. Im gila adam al chatosecha. If a person reveals something that you did, al chatosecha, something that you did which was a chait, an aveira, al tomar kemo shegila chatosi gam ani agaleh chatoso. So you shouldn't say, just like this person revealed something bad about me, I will go and reveal something bad about him. No, we shouldn't do that. Shana Amar, because it says, Lo sikom velo sitor. Shom Yudches. It says lo sikom, you shouldn't take vengeance, lo sitor, and also you shouldn't you shouldn't take vengeance or hold grudges. You shouldn't take vengeance or hold grudges. In other words, somebody did something against you, you shouldn't say, oh, I'm going to do something against that person. Because it says lo sikom, you shouldn't take vengeance. Lo sitor, you should not hold grudges. Shom yitches. Over there. Over there means Vayikra. Vayikra. Yud says Tezvav. Gam lo tisboer. And you shouldn't have pride. You shouldn't have pride in yourself. Gam lo tisboer. Af al pi shehu gilo alai. Ani lo agale olav. You shouldn't think so grandly of yourself that, oh, just like he said a bad thing about me, he revealed something about me, but I am not going to reveal anything about him. So I am better than him, as it were. So we shouldn't do that either. Ki bezeh hadibor giliso hochetzi. Ki bezeh hadibor giliso hochetzi. Because with this kind of word, giliso, it was revealed hochetzi, the half of it. In other words, ki bezeh hadibor giliso hochetzi. With this kind of talk, one is showing that one is not 100%. It's like one is half and half. And this thing is a very important thing in Yiras Shamayim, in the fear of heaven. And if the person is not somebody that has fear of heaven, that fears Hashem, if this person is not a Yirei Shemayim, he does not have the fear of heaven. And in other words, he casts aside from him the yoke of the Malchus Shemayim, of the kingdom of heaven, Mi'olav, Ve'enu Nizar, and he's not careful, Mi'avera Achas, from a certain Avera, Asher Kol B'nai Iro Yodaim Shehi Avera. He's not afraid at all of doing a certain Avera that everybody in the town knows, everyone knows that this is an Avera, and he is not worried about it, and he's not careful against doing it. So it's like he's casting off himself the yoke of Shemayim. He's not careful about one certain Avera. All the people of the city, Yodaim Shehi, everyone knows that this is an Avera. Mitzvah l'saper b'genuso. In other words, so it's a mitzvah to say that, oh, he did this bad thing. He did a bad thing. Because, in other words, it's known that he does not care about doing this Avera. He casts aside the yoke of the kingdom of Shemayim. So we want to warn other people. We're not saying it to say bad about him necessarily, but we want to warn people against doing it. Mitzvah l'saper b'genuso u'legalos chatov. It's a mitzvah to say something negative against him. U'legalos chatov, and to reveal his sins. U'lahavish ba'alei averos b'enei b'nei adam, and to make the people that do averos, to bring them down in the sight of people, to make them not so good. We don't want to give them kavod and pride. In other words, if he's doing an avera, he should be he or she should be known to the people that's an Avera, and we don't want other people doing that Avera too. And people that do Averas, it's good to kind of bring them down in other words, to say that he did not do a good thing. He did not do a good thing. One should not do any action, God forbid, against them at all. But in other words, to say what the action that this person took is not right. No physical action against the person, God forbid. So the reason we do this is that the people will hear this, they will be disgusted by what was done, they will be disgusted by this, they will keep themselves far away from Averos. Because it says, Tawabas Tzaddikim Ishavel. Tawabas Tzaddikim Ishavel. That which is a Taweva, it's a Algenos, it's a bad thing, a disgusting thing of Tzaddikim. Ishavel is a person that does bad things, and a person of iniquity. Mishlei Chavtes Chav Zayin. That's in Mishlei, the 29th parak, and Chav Zayin is the 27th pasuk. V'ne'emar, and it says, Yiras Hashem Sinoos Ra. Yiras Hashem Sinoos Ra. The fear of Hashem is one that hates evil. In other words, if one sees something that is evil, one should have a distaste for it. And so that is part of Yiras Hashem. Shem Ches Yud Gimel. V'yamru, when it says, Rasha ben Tzaddik, Mutar Lekroso, Rasha ben Rasha, the son of a Tzaddik, Mutar Lekroso, Rasha ben Rasha. You're able to, we could call that person a Rasha, the son of a Rasha. Tzaddik ben Rasha, Mutar Lekroso, Tzaddik ben Tzaddik. Tzaddik, a Tzaddik, a righteous person, ben Rasha, and he's the son of a Rasha. Mutar Lekroso, you're able to call him Tzaddik ben Tzaddik. This is a Tzaddik, a righteous person, ben Tzaddik, the son of a righteous person, because he turned out, Baruch Hashem, very well. So what the father did, thank God, the mother did to raise him, turned out to be a good thing. So one can call Tzaddik ben Rasha, a Tzaddik, the son of an evil person. Mutar Lekroso, we were able to call him Tzaddik ben Tzaddik, a Tzaddik, the son of a Tzaddik, because the father, the mother, the parents raised him right. Sanhedrin. This is in the Gemara, Sanhedrin and Beis, Amud Aleph. V'davke al derech zu mutar lahachlimo, l'shem shemayim. And only in this way are we allowed to say something bad about him. Lahachlimo, l'shem shemayim. L'shem shemayim, for the sake of heaven. In other words, we're not doing it because we don't like him. We're doing it l'shem shemayim, for the sake of Hashem, that we don't want that no other people should follow in this way. Lami she miskotate imo umechaben lecharpo lihana aso belvad v'lo l'shem shemayim. But somebody that is fighting with the person, might be insulting the person that did something bad, and he wants to humiliate the person, for his own benefit, because he doesn't like the person, he wants to humiliate this person. Not l'shem shemayim, not for the sake of heaven, ein lo legalos chatoso. If he wants to do it just to show, oh, I don't like this person, God forbid, and I want to show what he did that was not good. So ein lo legalos chatoso. So then it's not for him to reveal the thing that he did, the evil thing that the person did. If he doesn't have l'shem shemayim, a good intention, and he's just doing it through that he wants to make fun of this other person, that he might not like the person or whatever, so then ein lo legalos chatoso. This is not for this person to reveal the chait, to reveal the avera. V'chein im ha-megala hazeh hu chotei. V'chein im ha-megala hazeh hu chotei. And also similarly, im ha-megala hazeh, if the person that is revealing the avera hu chotei is himself somebody that does this avera, ein lo legalos pesha shel chotei acher. So then, for sure, he should not be. It's not within his. It's not on him to reveal the avera of another person. If he himself does the avera, so what is he revealing that, somebody else is doing this same thing? If he himself is doing it, what's he saying that this other Shimon did an avera, whatever it is, that he himself does? What kind of business is that? Ki bevadai ein megale mistorav letova. Ki bevadai, because for sure ein megale mistorav letova. He's not mistorav. He is not revealing that which is the secrets letova, for good. He's doing it for an evil purpose himself. So in other words, if he's not doing it, revealing the person's avera for l'shem shemayim, in other words, to show him, the one that did the avera, and the other people that are around, that this is not the way to go. This is, in other words, don't do this kind of thing. He's for instructional purposes. If he's doing it just to make fun of the person, he doesn't like him, he's making fun of him, so then he should not reveal the chait, the avera. Other people, it can be revealed in other ways, or it can be revealed in an instructional way, perhaps. The person doesn't have to be, the identity of the person doesn't have to be revealed, and especially if this person, he himself does the avera, so then for sure he should not at all tell about this other person did the avera. What kind of business is that? Ki bevadai ein megale mistarav letova, because bevadai for sure ein megale mistarav letova, he is not revealing the secrets letova, for good. Udevar shefosayim ach limachsor. Mishnah Yudalit Chav Gimel. The virus of Vosayim, the words Vosayim of the lips, ach lamachsor. In other words, lamachasor. Don't do things with your lips that are negative. Don't reveal things about people if it's negative. Do things that are positive. We should try to be positive. That's what we have to try to do. Look at the positive aspects of things. And this is from Sefer Orchos, Tzaddikim, the way of the righteous. And Yeshakayach, and a good jar. Kesiva v'chasima tova.